Oh my god, if only the modern games take note of what a real fighting game was in an arcade. Oh, what is this? Oh yeah. Wait a second. What? The genres of classic video games, those born in the old arcades, although most of the times they got unnoticed, they continue to stand up. And how do they do it? Throughout the generations, the video game has passed through several changes, but there is no doubt that the genres that we know today, such as shooters, arena fighters, JRPGs, and others, they are all subgenres, roots and interpolations of other main genres, which were born almost at the same time as the industry. In the case of fighting games, their task is much easier. Generally, most games start from a mechanic, not from a script. That's why, having such a marked essence in its gameplay along with its popularity, there always existed the possibilities of bringing these genres in all their splendor to future generations without feeling an abrupt change. That is the case of the title that we will review today, Super Dragon Ball Z. Launched on December 22, 2005, being a quite particular port from arcade machines to PlayStation 2, this is a classic arcade fighting style game, from the mythics rooted to the purest concepts of traditional gameplay. The title, because of its affinity, is not aimed at all public, that must be said. Not all Dragon Ball fans can get to enjoy it as much as they would with a Budokai or Tenkaichi. It is a game for lovers of the classic fighting genre, with much deeper mechanics that offer a great variety of ways to fight. This style is because Super Dragon Ball Z would have a developer called Noritaka Funamizu, who was a quite active producer of the Street Fighter game series, and his influence on the development of the sport is more than notable. As fans of Dragon Ball games, we tend to place a lot of importance to the variety of characters, the range of the settings, the spectacularity of the special techniques, but here the programmers had different ideas, a Street Fighter game basically with skins of characters from Akira Toriyama's universe. Speaking of Toriyama, he had a very active participation in relation to the work of the team in charge, being responsible for the complete design of Mecha Frieza exclusively, also supervising the modeling of the other fighters. If you're not very familiar with what we refer to the Street Fighter style, in summary accounts it is a genre that uses the basis to give a gameplay that rewards the skill of the player. It is not guided by luck, spectacularity, or preference for one of the two sides. A style of game hugely grateful to those players who take the time to practice the mechanics, willing to become better. It cannot be considered a casual genre in all the sense of the term. It has controls, difficulties, and game modes directed to make you more and more experienced, leaving any narrative approach absolutely in the background. With this in mind, the main mode is the original call, where we will face a series of rivals in arcade mode until we overcome them all. This comes with the respective rewards like unlocking new characters, collecting Dragon Balls, and getting personalization items. Since this is a pure fighting game and the arcade mode is basically a series of fights without any story or plot to follow, we will talk directly about its gameplay. The controls are in essence complicated. I'm not joking, I'm kind of bad at games in general, but the controls in this game were very difficult for me because they are designed from their implementation in an arcade machine. The explanation of its commands and skills are rooted in what the tutorials were of these machines, so even though you have practice in fighting and Dragon Ball games, this is going to take you longer than expected. However, it is worth it, since they are game styles that require a lot of timing, precision when making your combos. Those who have played Dragon Ball FighterZ or Marvel vs. Capcom will know what I mean. It is not the most friendly game with beginners, but when you get used to it, the feeling of satisfaction is tremendous. Here we are seeing a fragment of what it is the gameplay on an already experienced person, and what we can do in a serious match is great. Despite having fighting mechanics very rooted in the classic, they did not discard the implementation of elements from the Dragon Ball universe. You can fly and maintain a combat in the air. We can transform in a limited way into a Super Saiyan. The special attacks preserved part of the spectacular element that we knew, among other elements that do not distance much the feeling of familiarity with games like the Budokai. The graphics section remains decent for its time of launch, nothing from another world, but they give the task of polishing the models well and giving them barely believable expressions. By the way, part of the setting can be destroyed during a fight and part of those details are always appreciated. Even if I must say that in the visual execution of special attacks they needed a little more polish, they look like just sticky flashes of light places without much perspective. You have weak attack, strong attack, a grab, ki blast, launch attacks, special attacks, ultimates and transformations in some cases. All of these with the possibility of combining them and make the mythical juggle, where you can lengthen the combos in the air without letting the rival touch the ground, an implementation that looks great and feels even better when you master it. Besides, the characters feel unique enough to provide a different performance on each occasion. Their skills and punches are perfect for what they represent in the series. However, I sometimes feel like the 3D perspective and distant flying elements are working against the controls when linking the combos. It feels good to play when you learn how to do it, but that will take you a long time. The difficulty can be adjusted to cover the range of the learning curve, but the variety of challenges are very limited, mainly due to its few game modes, which are simply repeating more fights whether with different conditions, difficulty or characters. Although the Sea Survivor mode is worth mentioning, it works in a very particular way. Before going to this mode, you must create a character letter. You do this from the personalization menu. It is used to save your progress or experience and skills with your character. A quite decent section of personalization, I must say. This way you enter this mode that has a survival method. The more consecutive fights you win, the more experience points you get, which are used to get new skills and customize it to your taste with that character. Obviously, as the fight progresses, they get more complicated, and if you're good enough, you can unlock all the Dragon Balls in one match. The Dragon Balls work as you would expect. When collecting them all, they can grant you new abilities, new outfit colors, or advantages in traditional combat. Being a game originally intended as arcade, the number of characters was not very large, only 9. Even so, that was modified for the launch in PlayStation 2. The roster was doubled, having thus 18 unique characters, among which are some iconic like Adult Chi-Chi and Gohan with the Sea Sword. Also, the skin section is wide and makes up for it. Iconic suits with a lot of attention to detail. In conclusion, the receipt of this game remained very warm. Some lovers of the genre take advantage of it. Others with more casual tendencies passed it over even if that was not their intention. But I think it is important in certain occasions to highlight that not only Dragon Ball FighterZ added concepts of this kind, there is a lot of past of the video games that we do not know, and it is important to give them merit when you have the opportunity. I'll be watching you in the comments, reading your opinions about Super Dragon Ball Z. If you didn't get to play it, tell me your impressions with the video, and if I help you have a certain perspective of the title. Thank you so much for watching. That was all for today. Take care and see ya.